How's it going, guys? I want to thank you for stopping by the HB Racing YouTube channel. Today I'm going to introduce you to my all-wheel drive turbo Honda Civic. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cheers, boys. This is my 2000 Honda Civic SI all-wheel drive B16 turbocharged. So we're going to start off with the exterior first because that's what everybody sees first, and that is probably the roughest part of the whole car. So the paint's not in great shape. It has been at the shop for 2 years getting the all-wheel drive swap done, but I finally have it back, and here it is. So like I was saying, the paint is not great, but it is doable. I am going to wash it here. I just got it back, so it needs a thorough wash, but the paint is still there. Not really any worrisome rust spots, just a couple surface rust areas, but for the most part the exterior is intact except for the front bumper, which the shop did not have whenever I whenever I picked it up. So that's missing, but there is going to be a surprise at the end of this video with some surprise parts that will be going on the car at some point, but not in the near future. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll show you here in a little bit. Now, my plans with the car are to build it for time attack, so the exterior is going to go through a lot of differences. Now that will be in the future. I'm going to more look at aero parts before I look to clean up the exterior, the paint and whatnot like that, because that's not important. We need more aero and functionality rather than the looks. So that's going to be the main focus on the exterior. Like I said, I do have some parts coming, or have some parts, but it's going to be a while before I put those on. There's going to be a lot of stages that the car needs to go to before I can put those on. Alright guys, as for the interior, it is pretty clean. This car is 23 years old, and the interior is pretty well intact. It's mostly all here with a couple of gauges over here. Obviously a boost and an air-fuel ratio gauge. Stock gauge cluster, I will be wanting to upgrade that in the future to a Haltech dash unit, so that'll be in an upcoming episode. But for the time being, the stock dash is there. Not very functional, but it's there. So going on into the interior, the car does run on a standalone Haltech Elite 1500 ECU. So you can imagine this thing is very easy to tune. It is on low boost right now. It's just a stock motor, so we'll get to that in a little while. But as for the interior, it's mostly all here. I do have the back seats, but to just get used to the car and figure out any bugs, I have the back seats out so I can see the fuel tank, which is kind of taking up the back seat now. So yeah. The one thing I am really impressed with that the shop did was the location of this shift knob. With the all-wheel drive swap, we had to put the CRV shifter in the location, and it's more like a K-series shifter rather than the B-series shifter was just cables and a knob coming up. So they worked all of that underneath this whole cluster here, and it's in a very good position. I don't bust my knuckles on the dash, which is a very common issue in Civics. If you've ever owned one and you haven't busted a knuckle on a shift, I don't know how you're shifting, because it happens very frequently. And yeah, so the position of this shifter is in a great position. I am very, very happy with that. what they had to do was cut it down and re-weld the top threads onto it, but put it in a great position. It goes into all gears, very nice. The transmission shifts wonderfully coming out of the CRV. So yeah, very, very happy with all that. Goes into all the gears very nicely. So very happy with that. That is one thing I'm very satisfied with from the shop. Okay guys, so now we're going to move on to the trunk space, which there's not really much space left. With the all-wheel drive swap, you do have to take out the stock fuel tank, so you have to get an upgraded external tank. So we did that. We've got a 5-gallon cell because this car is going to be a time attack car. Not really worried about the fuel, how much fuel I have on board. We will be getting a surge tank sometime very soon. Probably before we actually have a track day. I do want to get a surge tank for this thing. Don't want to go lean and burn a cylinder. So as for the trunk, you know, it's pretty bare back here. So with a little bit of carpeting, it looks pretty good. So now, how about we go on to the fun stuff? Let's get under the engine bay. What we have here is a Honda B16A2. This is a turbocharged engine with a Precision 5858 turbo, a radium fuel rail with 8AN lines all the way from the front to the back with an air motive fuel regulator. This has tile wastegate and blow-off valve, and has Hasport mounts, B-Series all-wheel drive mounts. Down here, as you can see, is our all-wheel drive transmission with the starter, obviously, in a different position. So you can see that too there. That's one of the biggest differences of the all-wheel drive transmission. But this motor has Brian Crower valve springs and retainers, and but the block is completely stock. It has just untouched. It has ARP head studs and the valve springs and retainers. The B16 motor, even though it is stock, is still running about 300 horsepower on only 10 pounds of boost. So it does still move pretty good. And with all-wheel drive, this thing gets out of the hole like none other. Alright guys, and back here we have the S1 all-wheel drive swap kit. Full spherical bearing. We've got everything from the lower control arms to the tie rod ends to everything under here is S1 built with a CRV rear differential and Tane suspension. This thing is running Tane suspension on all 4 corners. But yeah, so this is the full S1 kit with stock CRV axles. So this is normally the time when I say, hey, let's go take this thing for a spin and I'll show you how good it runs. But unfortunately, there's a couple things hindering us from doing that today. 2 of those things are, one, I have an oil leak at the VTEC solenoid, which is running all this oil down here and running all the way down on the transmission and on the block. So we're gonna have to get that taken care of, which is a simple, easy fix. So we'll get that taken care of soon. But one other larger issue that we are having right now is down here. This axle, I don't know if you can see it up there, but this axle boot is ripped, as well as this boot over here is ripped as well. So both of these boots were ripped. When I picked this car up, it was making a clanking noise, but it had been at the shop for over 2 years, and I just wanted to get the car home. So there you can see the Tane suspension, pretty nice there. But nonetheless, so we have a couple of things that we still need to get taken care of on the car before we think about putting it on the road. It is not registered, so we need to get that taken care of as well, and get an alignment. All those things I think we need to get done before we really get it on the road. Not even track worthy. So there's even another longer list of things that we need to do before this car is track ready for just even a track day. So this thing is far from perfect, but it's all I got, and I finally have it back home. That's the biggest thing. It's been gone for too long, and now it's home. So I am happy that we're there. What I can do is give you guys a couple of revs. Alright guys, and the little treat I have for you is I do have a full front end wide body sport front wheel drive front end for the car. So obviously when we get wheels and tires on this thing, this will go on, and then we can work with some more of the aero parts. But we do have a full wide body front end for big meets. So when we are pushing high horsepower and are running a 315 tire, it'll clear. So guys, please like, comment, subscribe, and let's get this thing monetized first. All right, well, we'll see you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.